Hi, John.
Evening, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not bad.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hey.
Okay, it looks like everybody's here. Was waiting on Brett. You had me worried there, Brett, but welcome to the meeting. Go ahead, Jim, if you'd like to open with a prayer.
Okay. All right. Our Father God in heaven, as we always do, we thank you for this day. And we always thank you for this opportunity that we can come together as leaders of this community to make the decisions that need to be made to keep this county running smoothly. And Father, we pray for your wisdom, and we know that you will give it to us. Father, we ask for your blessings and your mercies on this county, the snowstorm we're going through, the ice storm, and the COVID. And we just ask you to be with all of our first responders, especially during this snow and ice storm, that they be safe. You know, our fire department, EMS, Sheriff's Department, Taylorsville Police Department, and our road crews, and all of our county employees that have to get out and work in this weather. We ask you to be with them and keep them safe as they go about doing their work. Father, we thank you for every blessing you give us, and we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who gave his life for us, that our sins can be forgiven. And we ask this in his name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is Monday, February 15th, 2021. And I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Square Brewer,
Here.
Square Mike Moody,
Here.
Square Beaverson,
Here.
Judge Riley,
Here.
Square Travis,
Here.
Square Jerry Moody.
Here.
Okay, looks like everybody's here. The first thing I'd like to do, if I may, I'd like to amend our agenda. There's a couple of items that I'd like to add. One was inadvertently omitted from the agenda, and it's something we need to act on this evening. And so under old business, I'd like to add recycle center hire. I have a recommendation on that. Without objection, I'd like to add that. Also, under new business, I see Chief Nation on here. Nathan, can you hear me okay? Okay. There's some issues I think that he and Chris Limp would like to address with regard to roads closed in the county. And I want to put that under new business. I think that's probably going to be a better fit under new business rather than in just citizen comments. So if there's no objection, I'd like to add those things to the agenda. Also, as everyone knows, I've sent the information out to all of you on the 11th of February. That was last Thursday. The governor issued, as you all know, a declaration of emergency for the state of Kentucky. Came along Friday and issued a declaration of a state of emergency in Spencer County. That was on the 12th. And then the city of Taylorsville issued a declaration of emergency on the 13th, on Saturday. So just wanted to, obviously, we've been under some pretty severe weather. And also, just want to mention all the first responders and our road crews and so forth, and how much they appreciate, and I know we all appreciate. Country Mart has always been stepped up to the plate to help the county in any way they can, and they've offered meals to the road crews, both the state and county road crews. Know some of them on the county side have been at it for, I believe, a straight 24 hours. So anyway, really appreciate Country Mart stepping up, and everybody, if you get a chance, just let them know how much you appreciate it. With that, I'm going to move on to approval of minutes from the prior court meetings. And the first item would be January 19th meeting. We had an issue. I don't know if that's been corrected yet. I'm not sure that it has, where we had asked for a correction to those minutes. If you look at the minutes to our last meeting, February 1st, you can see that the correction was actually put in the February 1st minutes, which they really should be correcting the minutes to January 19th. So I'm just gonna, I don't know what we need to do. I would appreciate if the clerk would go ahead and make that correction. Not sure if anybody else wants to weigh in on that, but that correction does need to be in the proper set of minutes, not the following meeting. So we've got also our February 1st meeting minutes that we need to approve. So I'll open it for discussion and possible motion.
Was the
Can
motion,
everybody hear me okay? I'm not sure, maybe.
This is Jim. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as written with any additions or corrections.
That would be the February 1st.
That's correct. Yes.
I thought, okay. We've got a motion
Squire Burr, second.
and we've got a second. Anybody have, I mean, the obvious thing that I just mentioned is the correction to, that's basically addition of the contract for Convoy Enterprises. That shows up in the February 1st meeting minutes. That's really needs to be moved to the January 19th minutes. So that would be the correction I would recommend for the February 1st meeting minutes.
Will someone please just tell me if I'm wrong, but when you make corrections to the minutes, the correction should go into the minutes that you're making the corrections to. Is that correct?
That's kind of the way I see it, but I guess
Now, how-
maybe some-
If not, then how do you know that there was any corrections ever made to those minutes?
exactly.
Because
don't
it
know.
says their correction to the January 19th minute right above the contract. And if you recall, at the February 1st meeting, it was said that this needed to be put into the January 19th minutes. The judge said that, and I said, I'll add them to these minutes. If it was a simple typo, I could go back and just correct them. That would be fine. I was under the impression this would be fine, putting them into the February 1st minutes. And then I'm told it's not. So I'm going to have to go back and reformat the minutes to January 19th. They're already done. I'm going to have to add pages, add page numbers, when it's pretty obvious that it's a correction, and it says it's correction. It's bolded. So I'm really having a hard time understanding why this isn't acceptable to you all.
Well, I'll speak to that if nobody else is.
I'm good with it.
Thank you.
Is that the correction was made to the January 19th meeting minutes. And that's where that correction needs to be made, not in the meeting minutes to a subsequent meeting. So I'm asking that that be corrected as a part of this motion. And if there's objection, please tell me.
Well, couldn't it be just as simple as taking that first page there at the Convoy Enterprises and just putting that back into the minutes before?
That's reformatting the minutes, Jim. I mean, it's in the middle of the minutes. So I'm going to have to add pages to it, add page numbers, reformat it. But you know what? If this is too hard for you to understand, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Well, I don't know that it's a factor too hard to understand, but when you make a motion to approve the minutes with any needed corrections, I thought that's what we were. I mean, it doesn't matter one way or the other to me, but when you make a motion to correct it,
Mhm.
then that's what I thought we would be doing.
Well, the question is, does the court want this changed? I don't know why that the clerk is insisting on this.
Judge, because I was under the impression.
Please, I'll be glad to recognize you here in just a second. Again, the correction was made to the January 19th meeting minutes. It was simply because the contract to Convoy Enterprises was what we were discussing and what we approved, and that contract was not in the January 19th meeting minutes. And I asked that be a correction when we approved those minutes. So if the court wants to strike down that correction, so be it. It's up to the court. But when we ask for corrections to the minutes, I kind of would expect that the correction would be made, but it was not. So,
Judge, may I
Yes,
speak?
go ahead. Mhm, sure.
Okay, all right. At the February 1st meeting, when you said that you wanted the contract in, I said I will put them in the February 1st meeting minutes. There was no objection at that time. I thought everything was fine. And then now you want them, the minutes reformatted. I will be happy to do what the court wants me to do, but I just don't understand why this is so hard.
I think, well,
Thank you.
it's not difficult to understand. The correction was made in the January 19th meeting minutes. And that's where the correction should be made, so. So we've got a motion to approve the February 1st meeting minutes with the correction of, I guess, eliminating the contract that, or the correction from the January 19th minutes. Put that correction back, I mean, put that correction back into where it needs to be or where it should have been, the January 19th meeting minutes. I'm not going to waste a whole lot more time on this. It's silly that we have to have this discussion, but do we need to, what, you know, I'm open for suggestions. Okay, well, the motion is to approve the February 1st meeting minutes with the correction to the January 19th minutes. At least that's the correction that I'm adding. Without objection, if there's no other comments, call the roll, please.
Squire Mike Moody,
Pass.
Squire Beaverson,
Pass.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Pass.
Squire Brewer.
Yes.
Well, we're not going to approve our minutes. Is that what the court, I'm open to another motion if somebody wants to make that. Okay, well, if that's the way it'll be, we'll move on then. I've already talked to you about some of my communications, so we'll move on to communications from citizens. Does anybody would like to address the court this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Communications and reports from members, other offices and committees. First up is Julie. Are you on here? Julie Sweazy. That might be her now. Nope. I know Julie's got some things. We'll move on to Chris Lemp for a COVID update. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to get a hold of Julie.
Looks like our COVID numbers are down quite a bit. Last release has put us at 55 positive. The North Emergency Management, and we're thankful for the use of the firehouse. We've gave both rounds of vaccine to just over 400 people in the county. From this point forward, any vaccine that the health district gets will be moved to a central location, which is going to be their office in Shelbyville. So they'll provide the vaccine just at that location for the counties that North Central serves. This week they
You
canceled
having trouble getting on?
all their vaccine clinics this
Oh,
week.
no, that's no problem. Yeah, we just passed you up, so that's all right. All right.
So that's about all the update I have for COVID for this week.
Anybody have any questions of Chris on the COVID issue? All right. Julie is in the process of logging on, so we will come back to her. Safety Committee reports, Squire Brewer.
I have none right now.
All right. Solid Waste report, Squire Travis.
Yes, we just have one recommendation from the Solid Waste Committee, and that is that you, Judge, order the recycling trailers to be placed back out into, there's 11 different locations. There's 7 fire departments throughout the county and 4 schools. Weather permitting, of course, this is nothing that's going to happen anytime soon, but we would like you to go ahead and order those to be placed back out.
Okay, as you know, we're very, very short-handed, so, we've gone from between parks and recycling, 10 employees to now we're at essentially 3. I'm going to make a recommendation that we hire a full-time employee over there later in the meeting. We're back up to then 4 out of 10. It's the only way that they've been able to keep up with it is to not have to run around the county hauling recycle trailers, and so I'll consider that. The committee met on that, and that was their recommendation. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And this doesn't have to be done anytime soon. We might want to let the COVID, go down a little bit more and hire another person or 2 where we maybe get the new truck down there and, maybe later on in the spring, March, April, something like that.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else from solid waste? Anything on the concrete? I know it's weather.
It's weather permitting. I talked to Mike today and he says, well, it's just, just go at the dumpsters out of the way. So we've got it staked off. So just whenever the weather's permitting and his schedule lets it, he'll be able to do it.
Okay. Unfortunately, from some of the weather reports, I think we're going to be some
Gonna
more
be a
bad weather later in the week, although what they were predicting for this evening, I don't think is going to be as bad as initially thought. Also want to make sure that the contractor has a Spencer County business license.
He does. He said he would have Julie to email that over to Brittany or whatever. He would get it to you. So.
Okay. Next is the Veterans Committee report, Squire Brewer.
Have nothing.
All right. And Equipment Committee report, Squire Moody. I think you've got something coming up later in the agenda.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Anything else? I do know that I've obviously been in regular contact with the road foreman, and they have had some, I'll call them minor equipment issues with spreader box motors and various things. One of the issues they're dealing with is, again, shorthanded on employees. They've got 2 employees out, plus they were shorthanded to start with. So he is currently looking at a application. Talked to him this evening about that. If there's nothing else from the Equipment Committee, telecommunications, I know Squire Beaverson, you've got something later on in the agenda.
I do. I just want to make note of some important discoveries in our telecom bills. So folks know that we have a monthly telecom bill that's usually around $1,680. And we also have monthly cell phone bills that's $1,718. And minus the sheriff, circuit clerk, and judge's office, we have internet bills that are $554. And I'll be talking a bit more about some proposals for that, some savings on some add-on costs that were discovered in our bills, and then onto the telecom proposal, and where that new telecom system can end up saving us a substantial amount when you look at what we're already paying per month.
Okay.
So, more to come.
I appreciate you've put a lot of time into this and talked to a lot of folks on it, and we'll dive into that later on in the agenda. So anything else from your committee?
No.
Okay. Any other reports from other offices, members, or committees? Hearing none, we'll go to old business. Corner van quotes. I'll turn that over to Squire Jerry Moody.
Okay, we have 3 quotes, and Bill Collins was the cheapest on that, and I recommend we go ahead and do that with Bill Collins. It was $25,690.35 for the van, and I make a motion to go ahead and do that.
Jim seconds that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion. We got a second. I was looking for something that that shows Bill Collins on here, but I don't see it. I assume this is from Bill Collins. 25,690.35. Oh, I see BCF, Bill Collins Ford. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. This is a new vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I know you've talked to the coroner, and I think she's okay with that. We are going to have to do some modifications to it to equip it for the coroner, but we've got a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
I can just tell you that after driving one for the last week and a half, I think she'll be very pleased with it.
All right. All right. Call the roll on the motion, please.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody.
Yes.
Motion passes, and we'll get a purchase order out for that and get that on the way. Next up is Fiscal Court meeting room flooring. We've gotten, I believe, 3 quotes on that. We were looking at a couple of different types of material. One was the vinyl planking, and another one was carpet. And we had the quote from Frank Nix, I believe. And we got an additional quote from Pontrich Flooring out of Shelbyville. And this is on the vinyl planking. However, I contacted Sam Kennard, Donna Mudd. They had done some development out here, and we had worked with them on taking in some roads, but I thought I'd give them an opportunity to take a look at this and quote it. And when they got out and looked at it and understood the application being in the fiscal court meeting room and some of the issues that we've dealt with, the fact that, and you can read their quote, they highly recommended not using the vinyl planking to go to a carpet, what do they call it? A carpet tiles or carpet squares, or 24 by 24 squares. That way, if there is an issue, one of the things they've mentioned, and periodically, and I don't know why we have not been able to get it corrected, but depending on how the wind blows, when it rains real hard, there could be some water that gets in that the front area, probably the door. Seems to me like that could be repaired, but you could replace just a a square or 2 squares or whatever you need to. So she also said that with the chairs that we're using, that the carpet would be much better, the carpet squares rather than the vinyl planking. So their bid was for $4,388.50. Pontrix for the vinyl is $3,119, and then Frank Nix was $5,778. So it's the pleasure of the court what you want to do, or if you want to look into it further, we can do that.
Well, let me just say that, I have laid a lot of the plank flooring and the carpet, in my 30 years of building houses. And and Sam Kennard made a very interesting proposal, and they went into very good detail of it. And the thing about it is, with the plank flooring, if you've got a problem out in the middle of the floor where a plank is busted, you can't just take that plank up. You got to start at the edge and move back to the center. Or with the carpet, 24 by 24 carpets, you can replace each one of those individually. And as far as the sound, acoustics in that room, to me, it would be best if we went with the carpet pads.
Okay.
Judge, if I may,
Sure.
the entrance, why don't we do the vinyl planking at 6 feet by 2 feet at the entrance, or 6 feet by 4 feet at the entrance, where you sometimes have water that comes in. Plus, it gives an opportunity to have stuff come off of people's feet before they get on the carpet tile, if that's what we end up going with.
Well, and once again, that's a good idea, Brett. But if you were going to do an entryway like that with some, I would instead of going with the plank, I would go with the ceramic tile, a permanent ceramic tile, where the water's not going to bother it. And if you and that's fine to do that, but I wouldn't do the plank. I'd go ahead and do this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I was just going with what was presented, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Ceramic tile would be the way to go.
If we decided to go, if we put the carpet tiles in and we decided to ceramic tile an area, we could do that later, because that's not a part of the proposal.
Well, it needs to be done at the same time.
Yeah.
The ceramic tile probably needs to be laid first, and then the carpet tiles laid around that.
Yeah.
That should be something that Randy does too. I mean, it's really easy. Heck, one of us could come down there and do it. It's not that difficult. And
well,
anyway.
Obviously, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
No, that's fine. I'm done.
Obviously, we've got to solve that problem. I mean, there shouldn't be water getting into that front area. I don't know, Jim.
Well, just from a traffic standpoint, though, just having, you walk into straight from the outside with no vestibule, and who knows what's on people's feet. That it's going to look very worn there unless you do have an area with ceramic tile at the entrance.
Okay.
Yeah, and as far as the water coming under the doors, those type of doors like that, it's almost impossible to keep the water from blowing underneath that seal. I mean, it happens everywhere. Churches, any kind of commercial building that has that type of door, when the wind blows to a certain point, it's going to blow water underneath there.
Okay, so it's not unusual then.
No.
Okay. Well, do we want to hold up on making a decision on this and get another quote? Just whatever the pleasure of the court is. I mean, that old carpet's been in there for a long time. So, another, couple of weeks or couple of months,
Well, could we ask Sam Kennard to come to say, okay, we want a 3 foot by 6 foot ceramic tile, I'm sure they'll be glad to do that. They do that kind of flooring, and just add that into their bid. It probably won't change it any, I wouldn't
Hey,
think.
why don't we do this then? Let's hold up taking any action on it, and I'll get a hold of Sam Kennard and ask them to quote that, and then we'll bring it back to the court. I do like the fact that they didn't just take, I was thinking the vinyl planking, and they didn't just take what we were asking for. They suggested what their experience says that the carpet would be better in the application we're using it on. So we'll hold up on that, and I'll get a hold of them and get another quote or opinion from them on the ceramic tile and go from there, if that's all right with everybody. Don't hear you.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll do that.
Hey, Judge,
Yes.
did you want to go back to Julie, or is she here yet?
I believe, Julie, are you on?
Yes, she ain't on.
She's been having trouble.
Okay.
Let Julie, or if you're on here.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, for some reason it wouldn't let me join with my computer, so I finally figured out the telephone.
Okay, technology, don't we love it?
Okay, so for tonight I have 3 second readings. The first one is the application of Top Flight Development requesting Ag 1 agricultural to R1 residential on 12.7 acres located in the 2700 block of Hochstrasser Road. Commissioner Travis made the motion to recommend the rezoning of the application of Top Flight Development, requesting zone change from Ag 1 agricultural to R1 residential on 12.7 acres located in the 2700 block of Hochstrasser Road. It does meet the guidelines, regulations, and setbacks for planning and zoning, and the developer had agreed to put a 40-foot setback on the back line with the restrictions of 1,800 square foot homes built of brick, stone, or hardy board, and a 40-foot back property line setback. That motion was seconded by Commissioner Knoll. Motion carried.
All right, and that's a second reading. Squire Travis.
Yes.
You're muted. There you go.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the zoning change as recommended based on the facts and findings and recommendations of Planning and Zoning Commission.
We've got a motion.
Scarborough seconded.
Squire Brewer seconded it.
I do have some discussion. Can we do that?
Cautiously, yes.
Okay. I don't know if the rest of you are familiar with these lots that Trevor Brown is asking for on Hochstrasser Lane there. And basically what it is, I have some reservations about approving it, but I don't think we need to stop him from doing this now, but we need to have some discussion down the road about where we've got individual lots coming out onto a county road, an old county road at that, and the developer not being responsible for widening that county road if it's not up to the county specs. And I'll take you to the ordinance that we have. It's ordinance number 14 of 2010. And I'll just read the first sentence of section 2. It says, it is the responsibility of the developer to widen the existing county roads that provide access to the development along its borders with the said development. This work will be done at the owner's expense. Well, what we've allowed developers to do in the past is to sell these 1 acre lots on a county road. And like these 5 lots right now that we're talking about, they're side by side and they all come out onto a county road, and the road's not 20 feet wide there. So, I mean, it's something we need to look at down the road and maybe, do some more research. So when it comes up the next time, we can hold the developers, a little bit more accountable.
Okay, any other comments?
This is Jerry.
Oh, yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
Every time you build a house, you're raising the flood level because that ground underneath that house cannot absorb water. Every time you put in a concrete driveway, you put out there, and these are going to have to stop approved. And I will not vote for any of them until I know for sure that the developer is doing what he's supposed to be doing. We've got a mess in this county, and it's caused by everybody just approving of it, and it needs to be stopped.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
I have a
Okay,
question,
I-
Judge.
All right, go ahead, Squire Beaverson. I'm sorry, Squire Brewer.
Thank you. Julie, did you all take in consideration that ordinance that Jim Travis had talked about?
I'm going to say that ordinance probably did not come up in the meeting. You know, that is it's a fiscal court ordinance, not a zoning ordinance. Not to say that it shouldn't come up in the meetings. It can, but no, it did not. The only thing I can say is the area where those 5 tracks are, adjoining the road, has already been widened once when they did Beacon Hills, which is beyond it. Now, to say why it wasn't widened to 20 foot, I can't answer that. But it has been widened previously. The developer of Orchards at Plum Creek started at 155 there at Wilsonville and headed, up Poststrasser on that end. He went the length of his development, and then the Browns took it from that and went forward to Beacon Hill.
Judge, I have a question for Julie.
All right,
If the court does not pass this tonight, does it go back to planning and zoning for reconsideration and putting in that stipulation?
That can be up to the court. Or the court can take a step, and if you so wanted to approve it with a stipulation that it had to be widened, I guess you could put that in there. Or I know by statute, if you choose to deny it, that has to be done by the majority of the court members present.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but could we simply send it back for review by planning and zoning? I'd rather not hold a hearing in fiscal court, and that's what planning and zoning does. So it seems like that may be an option to just kick it back to planning and zoning for further review.
Right. I'm just saying if you do that, you need to give, tell them what you're wanting them to look at. What the issues are at hand.
Well,
So
Julie,
a motion.
I think the issues at hand is I've actually measured that road, the blacktop, and at the widest it's 19 feet, and other places it's 18 feet wide with no shoulders. And this ordinance that I read from calls for 20 foot of pavement and 2 foot of shoulders, which that road in front of those 5 lots does not meet that. And if we allow this to happen on these 5 lots, then we're setting a precedence, if we haven't already, for future development like this.
We've got a motion
Does
on
the
the table.
ordinance, I'm sorry, does the ordinance stipulate at what point the developer, does it say the number of lots? Does it explain at what point the developer has to do this? What's considered a development?
Well, I think that is the question that we need to answer. We need to define what is a development. And if you develop 5 lots from 12 into 5, from ag 1 to residential, to me, that would be a development.
Okay, well, we've got a motion, and we need to either, and hang on,
Mike talk there.
I believe we need to either dispose of the motion, withdraw the motion and offer another motion? Mike, go ahead.
I would like to say that normally when we're voting on something for planning and zoning, it's in here ahead of time, because I almost 100% of the time drive by these things because I want to know what I'm voting on. And there's, of course, there's minutes here from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but I don't see anything about this in there where we would have any indication, and that's no fault of planning and zoning. I don't mean it that way, but we should have some notification that we're going to vote on something, such as this before Julie tells us, because almost 100% of the time I drive by and look because I just want to know, and I didn't know to do it.
I will say that the first reading was 2 meetings back because it was held on a Tuesday. So you had the minutes back when it was on that Tuesday. We couldn't meet the deadline for advertisement, so we didn't have it the last meeting. So that's the second reading is getting kicked back a couple of meetings.
Okay.
Judge, this is Jerry. I'd like to talk for a minute.
Okay, Jerry, go ahead.
I think on these things, on these road deals and the drainage deals, that the road foreman, Todd, needs to get an okay on that.
Julie, would you like to address that for Jerry? I know that the county engineer reviews the plans. I don't know, was there a engineer's review on this? This is only 5 lots, so.
Well, there wasn't an engineer's review that I'm aware of, but Todd was aware and of there needing to be the entrances. They also had to apply to the Division of Water to put in, large culvert pipes to cross over. There's a decent sized drain down through there. And so Todd had to look at it to tell them if they could get adequate entrances. And he did do that.
Okay.
Well, my main concern with this is that if we allow this to happen, then we're not enforcing our own ordinance, which says this is what has to be done. And even though Trevor Brown was required to widen Hostrasser Lane when he put Beacon Hill in, from whoever okayed that, it wasn't okayed to the 20 foot and the 2 foot shoulders. So if he has to widen it again, it still needs to come up to what our ordinance says the developer needs to do. So that's my biggest problem I have with it, because these 5 lots are going to go ahead and get okayed, and the road's going to be narrow there, and it's never going to be widened at that point. So, do we hold him accountable now or wait until hold the next person accountable? I think we need to make a stand somewhere along the line, and either members of the Fiscal Court and the Planning Committee needs to get together and try to address some of these issues where these individual lots come out, like Jerry said, the drainage and everything.
Well, it sounds to me like, and Jim, this was your motion to approve this second reading. It sounds to me like you would prefer the motion would be to kick it back to planning and zoning for further review. I may be wrong on that, but.
You're right. I was very hesitant about even making the motion to approve it, because it's so far down the pike now. In other words, do we let it go and then make new recommendations and new ordinances, to deal with it down the road, or do we deal with it now? I really think we probably need to kick it back to planning and zoning and say, hey, look at this ordinance that we have requiring the developer to widen the county roads in front of his development.
The court's prerogative to do that, but we would have to withdraw your original motion.
Okay, I'll withdraw my original motion.
Who seconded that? Was that the Square Brewer?
Yes.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, and in that case, motion has been withdrawn.
Now I'll make a motion that we refer that back to planning and zoning for further review, dealing with the ordinance number 14 of 2010 on the developer widening the county roads in front of this development.
Okay, we've got another motion. And
It's Jerry, I'll second.
we got a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley.
Yes. Okay, if you'll take that up with planning and zoning, and you've got another second reading.
Okay. I have the application of Nathan and Jennifer Baker requesting zone change from Ag1 agricultural to R1 residential on 4.751 acres located in the 2500 block of Goose Creek Road. Motion was made by Commissioner Travis to approve the application of Nathan and Jennifer Baker requesting zone change from Ag1 agricultural to R1 residential on 4.751 acres located in the 2500 block of Goose Creek Road. The recommended land use map in the comprehensive plan recommends low density residential. The change would be in compliance with the comprehensive plan. It meets zoning regulations as set forth. Second by Commissioner Fowl, motion carries.
And whose district?
That would be mine.
That would be Squire Brewer.
Given light of the information that we've had before us tonight, I'm sort of hesitant to make that recommendation because I'm not sure that Goose Creek meets the standards of the ordinance.
This is
The
just,
only difference would be is this is a single lot, not a development, if that helps any.
Julie, I really don't think one lot or 5 lots make any difference. This is what we're trying to prevent, is either 1 lot or 2 lots or 5 lots or 10 lots.
would you like to make a motion on that, Squire Brewer?
Julie,
I would like,
does
go
this
ahead,
lot come out onto Goose Creek Road itself?
Yes, it fronts on Goose Creek Road.
Okay.
well, I will make a recommendation that we kick this back to planning and zoning for further review of the ordinance.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
I will ask
I'm
one
sorry.
question.
Yeah.
So this is basically going to put a deadlock on all zoning requests that is on a county road. So if a family member is giving a child a tract to build on, now they're going to have to widen the road. This is in the 2,500 block, so 2.5 miles, they're going to have to widen Goose Creek Road just to sell or to give somebody 4.7 acres.
No,
It's not financially feasible.
no, that's not, I don't think that's what we're looking at, Julie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that ordinance specifies it's for development. That's what I'm saying. I don't think I think when you're saying development, you're meaning like a subdivision, something that is consider, 3 acre or 3 tracts or more, where you're building numerous homes. You're creating a development.
I think development could mean anything, either taking 1 lot off of a farm and making it into a lot. That's a development. You develop that piece of property from another piece of property, whether it be 1 lot or whether it be 50 lots. That's what we need to come together on and get a definition of what a development is.
I have to agree with
Okay.
Julie on this.
Well, I was gonna say, I think we're gonna have to have Ken jump in on this because, like I said, again, this is not a zoning ordinance or a zoning regulation. This is a fiscal court ordinance, fiscal court regulation. So I think you all will have to set your guidelines for it. You will have to define it.
I'm not sure we want to kick all these back to planning and zoning on this issue and until we've updated or at least reviewed that ordinance and made changes in it, but it's a pleasure of the court. I think we have to talk process on that.
This is Jerry. I'd like to talk if it's okay for a second.
Yes, go ahead, Jerry.
It's I think she said it was 4.5 acres or something, and they're only allowed one structure on period. I don't think it's reasonable to request road all the way out. Now, I think if they was going to go in there and put a house on every half acre, I think that's a development. And I think one house in 5 acres, I can't see that taking place. The people, we might be getting a little bit away from common sense.
Agreed.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I would just like to get some clarification from the county attorney on the ordinance. I'm not saying that's, that we don't need to approve this, but I don't want to approve it tonight if we're going against our ordinance.
Well, let me read the first sentence of this ordinance again. It said, it is the responsibility of the developer to widen the existing county roads that provide access to the development along its boundaries of the said development. Now, if that's 4 acres or if that's 100 acres, the boundary would be whatever that lot, the boundaries on that county road. That's how I see it. Again, we need to really, fiscal court and planning and zoning need to get together and change some of our ordinances and things dealing with these type of things so we don't have to deal with this every time it comes up.
Judge, this is Ken.
Yes, go ahead, Ken.
I think that the ordinance, when we did speak of development, it envisions more of a subdivision type development. But I agree with Jim that we probably need to have our ordinance at least jive with the terminology of planning and zoning. And that's something we need to address in the future. But as far as tonight's proceedings, I think that I can safely say that development as it was coined in the ordinance is probably envisioned subdivision type thing. So I believe that, the thing with Trevor Brown, it makes sense that they take a look at that perhaps on the individual homeowner. I would assume that it really did not, the original intent of that word development was not geared toward an individual homeowner. But that having said that, I still think Jim's right that we need to really work on our ordinance and have it dovetail with whatever planning and zoning is using, so we're all on the same page.
Ken, and also in that ordinance, it says this work will be phased as outlined above at the owner's expense. It doesn't say at the developer's expense. So a good slick lawyer as yourself could fight on that. The terminology there. Is it an owner or is it a developer?
Right. And if they really meant for it to be just a developer of subdivisions, it should say
They
paid
should have
for
said
by
it,
the
yeah.
developer, not
Yeah.
owner. I agree completely.
Thank you, Ken. That clears some stuff up. I will rescind my motion.
Okay, do you have another motion?
We're going to get rescind on the second.
I'm sorry?
Do we need to get a rescind on the second?
We can. Who seconded that?
I think I did. I rescind it.
Okay, all right. Motion is withdrawn. Go ahead, Squire Brewer.
I make a motion that we approve the recommendations of planning and zoning based on the facts and findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
We got a motion.
Second.
And we've got a second. Does there need to be any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
No.
Squire Jerry Moody.
Yes.
Motion passes, and I think we're gonna obviously need to review the ordinance, and we understand the goal here is to not create more problems on county roads. So anyway, Julie, you got one more. Let's see what that produces.
Can I clarify who made the second on that one?
That was
Mike.
Oh, Mike Moody. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I do have one more second reading. It's on a state road. Maybe that make it easier.
All right.
I have the application of Georgie Herndon requesting R1 residential to R3 residential on 1.012 acres known as Tract A, located at 948 Van Buren Road. The comprehensive plan recommended land use map indicated low-density residential. Commissioner Fowl made a motion to recommend the rezone the application of Georgie Herndon requesting R1 residential to R3 residential on Tract 4A, consisting of 1.012 acres located at 948 Van Buren Road. The recommended land use map in the comprehensive plan does recommend low-density residential. The change would be in compliance with the comprehensive plan, and there is no one there on Zoom against the application. That motion was seconded by Commissioner Travis. Motion carried.
I make a motion to approve based on the facts and findings of the Planning and Zoning Committee.
All right. We've got a motion.
This is Jerry. I'll second it.
And Squire Jerry Moody seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Julie, what else have you got for us?
I think that's it.
All right, thanks. Sorry you had trouble getting on.
That's okay. Thanks.
All right, and let's see. The next item is what I've added. We've got a recommendation to hire an employee over at the recycle center. This is Tyler Wilkerson. We've had a very good hire of his brother over at the animal control office. Nick has done an excellent job and had recommended his brother Tyler to fill out an application. And if he's cut from the same cloth, which I believe that he is, I think it would be a good hire. So I'm going to make a motion that we hire Tyler Wilkerson to the recycle center at a rate of $13 an hour.
Is it full-time?
Full-time, yes.
I'll second that motion.
Let me back up, and I'm sure you're going to agree on the second is that would be subject to a background check and a drug screen pre-employment.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Squire Peterson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
No.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody.
No.
Okay, motion passes and we'll get him hired. Next is new business. AOC cleaning ServPro. That information is in your packet. This is a request from the Circuit Court Clerk to do some air quality testing in the annex building. And I believe that air quality report is in your packet, and at least the pertinent part of it, which is their recommendations. So in talking to the folks at AOC, they recommended contacting ServPro to give a quote. ServPro did. That quote is in there. It's $4,316. We have pre-approval from AOC that they will pay that, but we need to do it and submit for reimbursement. So I'd like to get a motion to have ServPro do the what they call a deep cleaning. It's a disinfectant spray and the HVAC system.
So moved.
We've got a motion to approve that. Who wants to second that?
I'll second.
We've got a motion and we've got a second. Squire Brewer and Squire Beaverson. Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, call the roll, please.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody.
Yeah.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Motion passes and we will get that done. Next is deceased farm animal grant. Doug Williams handles that for us, and just want approval from the court to go ahead and apply for that grant.
Is this just 100% grant, or is it payback or anything like that?
Don't believe there's any matching requirement.
Doesn't look like it.
No. So we have made significant headway on dead animal pickup and changing contractors.
And I'm assuming this was going to help offset the cost of the.
Yes,
Okay, I'll make that motion.
we've got a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
We had a couple of seconds. That would be Squire Beaverson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Right.
In line 6 there, it says there's 3 things there that development funding is limited to. 25% of the project's annual budget, which is what we pay, I suppose, or 15,000, whichever is least. Is that what we're going for? It's not the total amount of what it's going to cost. Is that correct?
That's correct. And but
I mean, I
I think it's probably going to cover 100% because we're drastically reducing our cost on that to the point where the
Yeah.
farmer is not paying anything, and we're being billed monthly based on the actual number of animals picked up. So
Right. I think Tim said we had 400 animals picked up last year. Is that correct, Tim?
No, 85 animals.
85. Okay. All right. So it should cover. Okay.
All right. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Well, I might as well, I guess, call the roll on that. I think it passed unanimously, but we'll see. Call the roll, please.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Jerry Moody,
I had a question. I did get to talk on that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it said that the farmer can pay part of that bill. That
No,
they
the
can
farmers,
levy.
the farmers, Jerry, under our new contract pay nothing.
That's correct. But underneath this new program that we're trying to get on that grant, it said the farmers can be responsible for part of the bill. And always before years, the farmer would pay part of the charge.
Well, not until last year when we, when that contract with Bluegrass, was it Bluegrass, abruptly ended, and we were kind of, there were a number of counties that were kind of left in the lurch. Thank goodness that contractor is gone. We've got a new contractor out of Lexington, and the farmer pays nothing. They paid nothing before. Last year they did, and now we're back to them paying nothing.
John, you're wrong on that. I paid it for years.
To the contractor picking up the animal?
Yes, sir. Every
That's-
farmer did.
Okay, I'm not aware of that.
County,
All I'm saying is that the county will be paying the $100 pickup charge for dead animals. And we're going to apply for a grant to cover part of that cost.
I have one other question while we're talking about it. Before last year, when we had our original contract, I think the county extension office gave us $7,500 grant for that. Is that something that we could maybe come back and ask them, since it's not costing the farmers anything now, that they can reinstate that $7,500 a year grant?
Talking about soil conservation.
Soil conservation, yeah.
Yeah, they have indicated that, yeah, they will restore our funding on that.
They will.
Or they were helping the farmers pay their share of the composting. So, any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Squire Travis, you already said yes, correct?
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Let's take up the courthouse floor cleaning. There's a proposal in there. This is the same company. Is Chris Lemp still on here? I don't know. This is the same outfit that did the floors over at the EMS building. I've not seen them, but I'm told that it made a huge difference. This is, I believe, the second time that that's been done over a period of some years. But anyway, this is to do the terrazzo floors in the area of the clerk and PVA office, and the tile floors coming back toward the elevator area. And
Judge, that cost looks reasonable. I'll make a motion to approve the proposal as submitted.
okay.
I'll second that.
And a second, Squire Travis, I believe, was the second on that.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody.
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes,
Squire Travis,
Yes.
motion passes. We'll get that done. Now, let's see here. Chief Nation, I appreciate your patience on this. And I'm going to go ahead and take up the road closures issue. And I know Nathan has some discussion on that, and we'll just dive right in.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, thank you all for comments, the emergency responders at the beginning of the meeting, and I echo the road departments. One of the things you always hear is Spencer County, the state and the county and the city always get complimented for the job they do during winter weather. Um, and I think through the email I sent out and a couple of videos, I think you all probably got the gist of the concern, but let me just back up 2 years ago. We were responding to a house fire on Hoagland Road in the Ashes Creek area. And I had an accident, run off the roadway, wasn't hurt, but totaled out my vehicle. And it was an area where the county road department, one of my understanding, 5 or 6 different areas that they've posted signs and basically said the road's closed during bad weather. So anyway, so that happened. The very next day in that same stretch of road, Rumpke was out there in that area picking up trash, and they rolled over a garbage truck, and thankfully that guy wasn't hurt either. So that leads me to the other night where all of our agencies got a 911 call of an accident at the end of Yoder-Tipton near Normandy. And it is one of these same scenarios where the road department has posted signs that the roads are closed during bad weather, but obviously people still travel them. Accidents happen, then we have to respond and so forth. So again, I come sliding into that, was fortunate enough to get stopped before the accident. And then Chris Limp and I, Chris actually dispatch tried to call the road foreman, didn't have any luck, and Chris got a hold of him on his cell phone and said there wasn't very much that could be done. You know, there were signs up. So we just made the decision on our own. It was so bad out there that needed to be closed to try to prevent any other accidents. And then as I had just put the tape up and we had just started to clear, I was going one way across the road and Chris was going another way. Here comes a car down the hill, out of control, heading towards us and our vehicles. We hadn't had our crew hadn't got to the top of the hill at that time to block the road. So anyway, so with that said, this is not working. And of course, my concern is I think everybody's that, you know, this is just going to lead to more accidents and problems. So if they are going to be closed, I would say there needs to be some type of physical barrier or something to close them, or they probably need to be treated. But anyway, I just wanted to express my concern, and I think Chris is on here as well. And that's about all I have, unless you all have any questions or anything.
Chris, do you want to weigh in on that?
I would just get a committee or something together to look at this. The signs, they just aren't working. It's I know there's swing away gates or barriers that we can put there, and they'd be permanently there, and we can go close them when inclement weather is coming. Put like it where we were at the other night. If we could put one at the top and bottom of that hill at Yoder-Tipton, it would just mitigate that entire situation from ever happening. Putting a sign there on the side of the road that people drive past every day of the week and don't pay any attention to does nothing to stop people from coming up and down the road. It's yeah, I've talked to the road foreman this morning. I believe it's 5, it might be 6 locations. It's Yoder-Tipton Hill that comes down to Normandy. It is Peterson Place subdivision hill. It is the dip in Murphy Lane. There's one they call McKinney Hill and one they call Coulter Hill, which I believe run off Little Beach. And there may be one other that I'm just not remembering right now. But
Hoagland Road, Chris.
Oh yeah, Hoagland Road, back in Ashes Creek area. So they're spread throughout the county. And like I said, like Nathan brought up, luckily he wasn't injured a couple of winters ago when he was in that crash. Luckily we walked away Friday night. It was a pretty close call. So we've got to we don't have a choice but to respond when we're called there. We were, like I said, like Nathan said, we was initially called for a car crash. We have to respond. And we accept that there are some dangers in our jobs, but when they can be mitigated, and we would never be put in those situations. I know other places out west, they close roads down all the time for inclement weather with barriers. So I think it's something we should look at.
I would add one thing too, and I may stand corrected on this, but I know on the Peterson situation, the Hoagland Road, and the location we were on the other night, though I know those three locations can be closed and not affect any homeowners. There's no homes in between there, and there's other areas to access the property. So like Peterson, you can get through McIntosh. Hoagland, you can get through Drake Ridge. And then, of course, you can get around by using John Henry out there where we were at the other night. I think that was part of the road department's probably initial decision is that there's other ways for people to get around and still get home and get out. But of course, like Chris said, the problem is these signs are just not an effective method of keeping people out of there. So
I spoke with Keith Whitehouse today, and every location that they have signs posted that the road is closed, there is a secondary way in or out of those locations, even the McKinney Hill and Coulter Hill. So they have another way out from another drive. So.
Okay, well, I think it was one of you had mentioned the possibility of a committee looking into it and maybe coming back and advising the court. I have talked to the road foreman about this, and I agree. I mean, a sign, that's like speed limit signs. People don't pay attention to them, and it's unfortunate. I know the situation a couple of years ago. One of you had called me about, can't we get the road department out there to treat that Hoagland Hill? And I talked to the road foreman, and I said, I understand, hell, you don't want to get your equipment stuck down in the woods. And he said, Judge, it's not the equipment, it's the man. And I agreed with him 100%. That's why people shouldn't be on those roads because of the danger. But if we're going to close the road, we need a barrier of some kind and something. I think like the other night, I don't know if you all called the road foreman or road department about getting some barricades. It was probably, what time of night was it? Midnight or so?
I believe we were told there was nothing that could be done because there was a sign posted.
No, there is something that can be done, and that is.
I agree, but that's what we were told. I'm just saying.
Well, I really, I would have certainly overruled that had I known about it at that time. But the road department certainly can, and I think anytime you all work so well together, all the law enforcement and fire and EMS, but I can't think of a single time that anything has been requested of the road department. Well, I take it back, Hoagland Hill. I mean, I thought that was a valid reason to not go out there and try to treat that hill at that time because of the danger. But I think maybe looking at Todd gave me a list. There's like 9 roads that need to be looked at. I think it would be better to have a swing gate of some type, similar to what the Corps of Engineers use, something that anybody, either the road department or sheriff's deputy or EMS or fire department, anybody can swing that gate closed. It doesn't require somebody from the road department to make a run up to the road barn and pick up barricades and signs and deliver them out to close a road and then go pick them up later. I think to be able to easily swing a gate closed and reopen when it's safe may be the answer. I don't know the cost of that, and I don't know if we need those on either side of 9 different roads out there. But I think that it needs to be looked into, and I'm going to ask Chris as emergency management administrator and Nathan, if the two of you will get together with the road foreman and let's take a look at that, and let's look at the cost and give the court some kind of an idea of what cost we would be looking at to remedy it. I think something needs to be done, no question. Would that seem reasonable to everyone?
Judge, I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Years ago in southwest Jefferson County, when I was on the county police department, we had a lot of trouble with flooding in the southwestern part of Jefferson County. And when water would get over the road, the county police would notify the works department, and they would bring out what we call like saw horses and put across the road to block traffic. And then the county dispatcher would notify the fire department in that particular area that road was closed and the condition of the road, so the fire department would know maybe they had to go a different route to get there. And the other thing is, people would move the sawhorses out of the way to get through. And the problem is, with the whole thing is, you can't fix stupid.
That's true. But you hit the nail on the head. That's some of the discussion I had with the road foreman, is that there's been various different things tried, barricades, and people just move them. And in some cases, they've been stolen. And just somebody's absconded with the barricade. But if that sounds reasonable to have Chris, Nathan, would you, I'm sure you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Dealing with that. I am going to talk to the road foreman again, because it was my understanding that he did not receive a call about that.
Judge, I attempted to call the road foreman. He didn't answer. I spoke to his assistant, Keith, and was informed that there was nothing they could do.
Okay, well, we'll get that straightened out, because had I known about it, I would have made a phone call and
so we just made the shut it down ourselves, because it was we used the best we could, but it was
okay. Well, obviously it's something that we need to address and try to save a life potentially, or damage. So
if I could add one more thing before you wrap up, to echo on what Jerry said, you know, he's right. And I think the road department currently does have a history of when roads are flooding, doing exactly what he says.
Yeah, that's another one is
right.
Sears Creek is another one where we ought to put swing gate up instead of relying on the road department having to cart barricades out and signs and so forth. The other thing that we have to be cautious of is any kind of road regulations. You know, if you close a swing gate barricade, for example, to close a road, I'm sure there's all kind of regulations about how often you got to warn somebody before they get to it, so those are all things that need to be taken into consideration. But Chris, if you and Nathan will get with the road foreman, involve me however you need to. I just want to make sure that it is addressed, and can't say enough for what you all do out there. Appreciate that. Anything else on that? If not, we'll move on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just said thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Next up is Brett. Finally, we've gotten to you on this phone system recommendation.
That's fine, Judge. Okay. We have a new player in these quotes, and it's Kentucky Tech. This goes by recommendation from one of the elected officials. Kentucky Tech has been involved with Spencer County since 2005 and comes highly recommended. So I got to talking with a fellow named Brent Taylor, who was telling me that he can put phones on everyone's desk for $27 a month. You don't pay for the phones. You're pretty much leasing the phones. That works out to be $1,293 a month, whereas currently we're paying $1,680 a month. Now, there's a lot more that goes to this. Voice over IP means it's not your standard landline. It is using the internet. In order to use the internet, there has to be a certain amount of internet. It has to go so fast, both up and downstream. Otherwise, it doesn't work well. It becomes garbled and cuts off a lot. So we had to go around to several of the county locations and see what the various speeds are. In doing all of this, I had Brittany contact me about showing me cell phone bills, and where our monthly cellular bill is at $1,718 a month. Well, one thing that we could do, Judge, upon approval, is use it's called Nextiva, use the Nextiva app with this phone system, very same phone system that was quoted by AT&T. Using a Nextiva app, we are able to take those who still need to use a county phone and port their number to an app on their smartphone. Doesn't mean there's a desktop phone that rings to. That allows us to drop several county phones. What it also, my other concern, wasn't really a concern, but I did want to run it past county attorney. Ken called me tonight, and that is about some people having their personal smartphones and it being open records requested. Using this app, we believe that it would hold up in court, that only information, logs for that Nextiva app would apply to an open records request, not the individual's personal phone as a whole. And I believe that alleviated that question. We have around the county several different internet plans. Now, excluding the sheriff and excluding the main one that goes to the judge's office and excluding the circuit court, our monthly internet is $554. The slowest internet that we have would be at EMS, animal control, and the county clerk's desk, her desktop. Those are all of three of those are too slow to be able to use this new phone system. Now, I ended up learning that we had all of these different phone systems right there at the courthouse, but whereas I thought when we got fiber in the judge's office that we got fiber in that whole area, and we didn't. But what we can do is share that fiber, and we can start dropping off some of these extra internet connections. Now, as far as the phone system goes, we could approve this and go ahead and start with the rollout, where we would take care of the judge's office, the county clerk's office with their deputies, take care of their phones. Also, behind the courthouse where the jailer is, and maintenance, we can cover those lines. We have 38 lines total right now. The neat part is anybody else in the county that should decide that they need to be on this phone system, they can, it's $27 more. There's no transfer of all these numbers. That was it, plain and simple for each of these $150 phones. We're basically leasing them over the years. I tried to put as much information in what was in your packet. Without getting too much into the weeds, we just became disappointed in what we were hearing from AT&T and how much more concerned they were with trying to sell us some fleet management and upsell a whole bunch of other things. A lot of the stuff AT&T was going to have as additional charges is all included in what we would get from KY Tech. I know I'm leaving some things out, but if somebody has some questions, I will be happy to go ahead and entertain those questions.
Anybody have any questions of Brett? You've done an excellent job on this, Brett, and I appreciate it. Certainly, it's cemented, no doubt, that we've got to do something to upgrade these phones. We're so antiquated. We need to bring our phone system into the 21st century. So anybody have any questions? What would you like for us to do at this point, Brett? What's your
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the proposal that's in everyone's packet and get the ball rolling on this. And then I'll be coming back to the court regarding these upgrades of some individual internet, and then also working on quotes with KY Tech to get everybody around your office and Lynn's office and planning and zoning under the same internet pipe, so to speak, so we get a shared network built. We're not talking tens of thousands of dollars either. So I believe that we'll come back with something very reasonable to give a sound, stable network over in the courthouse. And Judge, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, you know, I started this back in March. I drug my feet, and I drug it on purpose because I didn't think we needed it. The more I delved into this, I thought it could wait until we got into renovation. But the more I delved into this, the more I saw where money could be saved. And so with that, that's why I'm making that motion that we approve this proposal as presented.
So the total then that we would be approving is $1,293.08.
That is correct. You'll see that there's another number above that. That included the various taxes, and all they need from us is the tax exempt certificate once this is approved, and they'll take those off. We do pay up front for the first month, and then so you're paying ahead of time as opposed to in the past. There's no long distance charges though. So that's why you're not paying in the past. That's one reason. Any long distance charges that we have, those go away as well.
So the company that would be doing this for us would be KY Tech?
KY Tech helps get it started. It is Nextiva is the program, and they kind of handed off to another company. I'm not finding it right offhand, but this other company, there's somebody that is available 24/7, 365. There's 9 nodes across the United States to various support if we ever need it. And also, let's say, since all of our calls would go up through Chicago, if for some reason Chicago should drop, it automatically shifts over to one of the other nodes in the country. So they've got redundancy built in. And the other part too is fax lines are built into this. So any fax lines we currently have, we can eventually just start dropping those off, because what they use is electronic faxes. I didn't mention that earlier, and that's just part of the cost too.
Okay.
I second the motion.
We've got a motion and a second. Just a tad bit more here. The clerk, they would have, I mean, we could theoretically put unlimited phones over to clerk's office with no problem.
Well, not unlimited. You still have a bandwidth restriction on what we have. And I would work with KY Tech. As it is right now, they can do 1-for-1 phones. They have plenty of bandwidth there.
I think they need extra phones over there, if I'm not.
Still, we still have enough. They have a symmetrical internet that the state pays for. And I tested it at 47 up, 47 down, which is really good for what they needed. Now, we have in your office is you're paying for 300 down and 75 megabits up, which is still, you could put 100 phones in your office, is the way it was explained to me.
Well, sure don't need 100, but also we've got, for example, I know, and I'm sure you looked into this, we've got the surveyor's office line that rings into our office. And we also have the old economic development line that rings into our office. I would assume that's no problem.
Not a problem.
Yeah. And the KY Tech, I believe they did some work for the PVA office. Is that correct?
KY Tech has been working with the PVA since 2005. And that's where they came highly recommended. And just talking with Brent, he understands everything that we were needing. And we didn't have to get into a big conference call like we had with AT&T that spread from Louisville, Nashville, and Arkansas. It was ridiculous. So, no, this is, I'm really pleased with working with Brent on this, and I would like for him to assist along with informing our current IT guys on what we're needing to do. I'd like to have KY Tech help us out with our internet infrastructure as well.
Okay. And you're right. You know, I was the same as you. You know, initially I was thinking, well, let that be part of the courthouse renovation, but no, actually we need this well in advance of any courthouse renovation, because you theoretically, anywhere you can plug the phone in that has internet access, you're.
Well, not to belabor it, but Judge, like what you're saying there, you don't even have to take the phone with you. So if your office is being renovated or somebody can't make it in, the app that I mentioned earlier, they would answer it, or phone calls could be transferred to that app and it would ring on their personal phone. So Kim Stump, for instance, going out and measuring houses while she's in the field, it's really like it. She's also in the office. Her phone rings. Now, if you're sitting in your office, both phones are going to ring. But you know, you can work around that. You can turn your personal phone down in the meantime. But once you leave that office, it rings just like it would as if you were in the office. It's really neat. He was showing us how that worked over at the county attorney's office.
Well, I'm anxious to get started on it. So Anybody have any questions? If not, call the roll. Wait a minute, Squire, Jerry Moody, did you have something?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say something. Call the roll, please.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Motion passes, and Brett, if you'll get the ball rolling on that, just let us know what you need, and I'm excited to get that finally moving. Next
Will
up,
do.
next
Thanks.
up is surplus planning and zoning vehicle. I'm going to recommend that we don't do that right away, but I know Jerry would like to go ahead and surplus this vehicle. I just think, I'd like to, I don't know, but it's up to the court, whatever the court wants to do. Don't want to keep a bunch of junk laying around, but at the same time, I don't want to jump the gun on surplus and some of this stuff that maybe there could be another use for. So, but anyway, Jerry, go ahead.
Judge, with all due respect, the vehicle is wore out.
Let's
It doesn't need to go. It needs to disappear.
You got a motion?
Yes, sir. I recommend.
Move that we surplus the Chevrolet Tahoe. VIN number is on the paperwork in your packet.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to second that?
Squire Brewer.
Squire Brewer. Any discussion? If not, call the roll.
Squire Mike Moody,
Yes.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, I know the treasurer, Doug Williams, is not in my office, but I believe it is. Doug, are you called? Have you called in? Are you on the meeting tonight or?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Okay. Next up
I've
is.
been listening to the whole meeting.
Okay. We've kind of brought you into the 21st century tonight. This is a new one for Doug. He's got actually talking on a cell phone. Well, maybe some of you don't know he does not own a cell phone. So the next item is a monthly financial statement that's in your packet.
Judge, this is Jerry. I got one more thing. I got cut off first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jerry.
I don't think this is a recommendation that I think is important, and that is on the sheriff's department on the van that we bought, and they're not using it now and haven't used it for several months. I recommend that we take that van and put over in the mechanic's shop. There's plenty of room in there to park that van and get it out of the weather.
I'll take care of that.
And then as we get this new for the corner, I think it should be parked in there too, as long as we got the room. And we can make the room by putting the mowers back in the trailer, hauling the trailer up to the fairgrounds and put underneath that carport thing they have, and make sure we have a tongue lock in that trailer, and we'd have plenty of room in that for that. Thank you.
Okay. So the monthly financial statement is in your packet. If you've got any questions, Doug is on here, or you can.
I have one comment, Judge.
Later. Yeah, go ahead, Squirt.
I noticed, since Gary Day is off, I guess Daughtery is handling most of the oil changes and things and repairs on our vehicles. Aaron's out at Elk Creek. I talked to him and he said he would be willing to, accept any of the repair work or all changes that we have too. And he's very reasonable. So it's just maybe that's another avenue we can look at.
Okay, that sounds good. That's, all right. On to the monthly financial statement. Anybody have any questions on that? If you do, at any time, certainly give Doug a call, or Brittany.
Motion to pay the bills and make the transfers.
We've got a motion. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Second,
Second, who seconded that?
Brett.
Squire Beaverson. We've got a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, concerns? If not, call the roll.
Squire Beaverson,
Yes.
Judge Riley,
Yes.
Squire Travis,
Yes.
Squire Jerry Moody,
Yes.
Squire Brewer,
Yes.
Squire Mike Moody.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mike, have you got another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
We've got a motion.
No,
to
wait.
adjourn. Hold on.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes with corrections in the manner that suits the county clerk.
Got a motion. Motion dies for a lack of a second. It really would be better to just make the correction that we had voted for before. You know, I don't know what it is, why we got to have such debate over the minutes. The clerk can make that change. We asked for it to be done, but anyway, we
Okay.
certainly, and I appreciate you saying that.
Time to end the meeting then.
We have
Motion to adjourn.
we have not approved our minutes for the last meeting, so that's not a healthy thing to do, but that's
I'll second.
it's going to be. Motion to adjourn and seconded by Squire Beaverson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes and we are now adjourned. Thank you all.